good afternoon. This is my friend Matt. I've known Matt for a while. And Matt, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Word. Well, thanks, Nolan. Uh, I guess I met Nolan in Alaska. We grew up together pretty much. We had our parents' houses were like within like 2 miles apart. But I've been, I guess now I'm a big mountain biker, so we both ride bikes together. I'm an engineer, um, material scientist, co-founder of a company, entrepreneur. We started Telepathy Labs, a mountain bike company, a couple years ago with some friends. And I'm working on developing high pivot mountain bikes, like higher than anybody's ever done before. And we've made a couple of them and they're ripping really well. So I'm stoked about that. And that's been taking up a lot of my time recently. And I'm doing grad school, getting my PhD in material science, and pretty much into all things action sports and engineering entrepreneurship.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, it seems like we got a little bit to unpack here. I'm really excited to have you on, Matt. This is so cool. Gosh. All right, let's start from the beginning. What about like action sports and riding bikes appealed to you at first, even?
Well, I think it's just like, I mean, it's something about like the flow state, like the feeling you get when you're doing it is just different. Like, I mean, it's so rewarding, like coming from doing things like running and like playing football. Like football, you get a little bit of adrenaline, but running, it's just like all physical exertion. But I feel like action sports, it like ties together that like mind body connection. And it's just like, for me, it's more satisfying than anything else. I feel like, it's a physical workout, but it's also like a mental game of like knowing what your capabilities are and what you can and can't do, but also trying to push that limit. And I don't know, man. I love it. I feel like that's the type of shit humans are built to do. Like that's what we're evolved for.
Yeah, that's very well put. I really like. I'm kind of a little bit of the same boat as you, where I was running a bit and I liked the physical exertion, but it got a little boring. But I personally really enjoy being able to bike up the hill
Yeah.
and push myself and give it everything I've got. And then just, do the mental game downhill a little bit and try to see what I've got in that like different aspect of physicality, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. Totally. How has it been like being in Canada, just being, I mean, imagine you're just like submersed in like great riding and great riders. Like, are you just riding a shit ton and loving it, or does it ever get old? Because I feel like riding in the winter is interesting. Like, have you ever done that before?
Yeah. Dude, honestly, I'm a little burnt out on it. Like I didn't see that coming. And I
Yeah.
by all means, like I was not every day at the skateboard park, but Kamloops has a really sick skateboard park, especially
Oh,
for
yeah.
bikes. It's really
Wow.
long and there's like nice long. It's such a creative park. You can do anything there. And I've got this actually Finn. I had him on the podcast. He's from Germany, and he
Oh,
just like moved from Germany and rides bikes and works, and he's just a sick rider. But I ride with him a bunch, and he's definitely more obsessed with bikes than I am. But it's been really fun. It's super cool to push myself around people that are way better than me. I gosh, it's been a real blessing to be in like where mountain biking has started.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
bet
I
it's
get
a
to
cool culture.
it is. And I get to meet people like I met Matt McDuff, who's like a pro biker, and I have been building not recently really. It's kind of slowed down a bit, but for like a couple of months I was building at his house a lot. And
That's so
he like
dope.
gave yeah, it's it's been a treat.
What kind of stuff are you guys building? Like, I've seen some of those videos, but what did you work on?
Oh wow. I came in later, so I was more so helping like put the finishing touches on ramps, right?
Yeah.
Like I built one ramp pretty much. I pretty much built
Oh,
one
yeah.
ramp by myself, but first of all, super cool guy. Like literally, he could have just given me shitty bitch work to do, but instead he took the time to show me how to build a ramp radius out of wood and like then let me do it. It's super cool to be around people like that who are willing to like impart the valuable knowledge on you.
Yeah.
I pretty much built a step down lip for the airbag.
Okay, sick.
Yeah.
Is it all wood stuff or did you do any metal?
No metal. That would be sick. That's more Colby Raha style. That's a moto shit right there. But
yeah, maybe I'm tripping. Cool. I thought I saw a picture of a metal ramp, but that might have been somebody else.
No, there's no metal ramps at the property. There is, I think it's like the first two jumps, it's like a 30-footer and a 40-footer. Those are dirt, and that goes into the 70-footer. And this is the small line. And then the shark fin is actually made out of dirt, which is like another 60, 70-foot jump. And this guy, Liam, who I met and rides at Matt's house, guinea pigged it. He posted it on Instagram. If you look up Liam Irvine on Instagram, you'll find it. But there's a video of him trying to guinea pig the shark fin. It's just a tech jump. It's super gnarly. It's fucked up. And he bailed off of his bike in midair trying to guinea pig it. Humped the lip, like pelvis, like legs below hit the case pad, body like hit the lip like that, and he tomahawked over the lip and went like 20 feet into the landing. And I wasn't there, but I saw the video and I was talking with him later that day. Dude, big air is not to be taken lightly. That has real consequences to it.
Yeah, that's gnarly, dude. We pay the price, I guess, for doing that shit. Wow.
Yeah. It's not without consequence, and I guess you just got to really love it to want to do big air.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a rush like no other though. Like when you land that and lace it up, or even when you get it flowing and you're just like seshing it. Like imagine the shit we do, and then just like times 10 for air time.
Yeah. Like I'm happy if I'm sure you're happy too if you hit like a 20, 30-foot jump, right?
Yeah.
Like, wow, that was a pretty good day.
Fat, dude.
What's that?
20 or 30 is fat.
Yeah. That was huge.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked to ride with you when you get back too, because I feel like you're gonna be so much better than all of us that stayed here in Montana.
Oh, that man. We'll see. I definitely broke myself off a little bit. The bike ranch like develops ruts because it's like earth matter. It's not dirt. It's just like matter, and it turns into dust really fast. So like I basically caught the wrong side of a rut a couple months into living here and like slammed my thumb into the ground and kind of sprayed my thumb. And hands take a long time to heal.
Shit.
Yeah, bad to break your hand.
Yeah.
So that kind of took me out of the game for a little bit, but I've been riding a ton of skate park pretty much all winter. Not really a whole lot of trail riding, but yeah, I'm excited to ride with you guys too and just be able to bike with my good homies.
Yeah. It's a weird year, dude. Me and Ben went biking today.
Really?
Yeah, up at Sipes. Like there's hardly any snow. There was like quite a bit of snow for biking, but like it was rideable. Like we rode the ridge little rut track and we're kind of like surfing the snow. Ben was ripping it up. He was having a blast.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, the biking Kamloops is generally sick, and it's a big treat to be able to bike with people that have been biking this terrain their whole lives pretty much.
Yeah.
But Kamloops is it's cool in its own right. But say so riding bikes obviously appealed to you, and like what about riding bikes made you want to start your own company, I suppose? Or what about bikes?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. It kind of, I mean, it like in hindsight, it started a long time ago. I just never like took it that seriously. Like I had this dream, like I got into biking, I got into skiing pretty well when I moved to Montana, in like at the beginning of high school. And then I was like in high school, I was like trying to decide what I wanted to do like for a career, and did I want to go to college? What I want to go to college for? And um, started doing engineering. We had engineering classes in high school. So I was like, oh, I like this stuff, like, messing around, like designing things and building things. And so I was like, man, I want to like do something that relates to what I like doing. Like I want to do something that I'm passionate about, like build some bike stuff or ski stuff. So I always kind of thought like, oh man, it'd be so sweet to design a bike. And that started in high school, but it took the longest time for me to like actually understand, and over the years I'd read Pink Bike, read like tech articles. And I guess over the next like 5 years or whatever that was, I kind of just got to the point where it was like, okay, like I'm starting to understand the suspension design stuff. And then went to engineering school at MSU. And I didn't really have like an idea to start my own company before I met Calvin. Calvin basically like, he just sent out an email. Like I didn't even know him at the time. There's like an email sent out to all the mechanical engineers. It had like a hand drawing of a bike frame that was like really whack. Like it was cool that it was like different, but there were some things that I was just like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work out that well. But it was like clear that he had put a lot of like work into it. So I emailed him back. I was like, yo, man, this is sweet. Like I'd be interested in like talking about it. And just interested in bike design in general. And so then we started talking, and Calvin was basically like, oh dude, yeah, like we should start a company. Like let's get some engineers together. And so it basically just took Calvin's like motivation, I guess, to be like, oh, we can do this. And the idea at that point wasn't like, we didn't really have the design figured out. We didn't know what we were going to do. But then we just kind of got some people together and started brainstorming ideas. And eventually my senior capstone project, like the summer, I guess, between junior and senior year, like was just thinking a lot about bike design. And we've been talking about doing a high pivot. Everybody's like, oh yeah, high pivots are kind of like the new rage. But it really wasn't until one day I was just like thinking about it. I was like, man, I was thinking about the cornering radiuses, and I came up with this idea that, if we do a parallel wheel pass, the rear axle moves parallel to the front axle, that should give you constant cornering radius and be a super smooth bike in rough terrain. And so then it was that idea that like really made it take off. And then that kind of catalyzed, like Calvin went and got a grant. So we got a little bit of money from the school to do it as a capstone project. We had Kari helping out, and some other people as well, Andrew, and then Zach was, just like meeting the guy that's been welding for a while and is pretty good at it. Like it all just kind of worked out. And at that point it was like, all right, we're going to make this, like, we're going to see if it works out. And it was still kind of a crazy idea. But at that point we had like incorporated the company mostly just to like get the grants and sponsor the capstone project. And so it honestly kind of started as just like making that first bike. But what really made me want to like continue on and like eventually make this a real, like put us on the map and actually start making an impact in the industry was like riding that first bike. Like I just remember like being a little worried, like I was stoked for the longest time, and then we were finishing up and I was a little worried. I was like, this is a crazy design. Like what if it takes some getting used to, and what if it's like not as good as I think it is? And then we wrote it, and it just felt like natural. Like it just ripped. It felt like you didn't have to think about it. And after that day I was like, hell yeah, like we need to like make this shit better and like keep on keeping on.
Cool. Damn, yeah, that's really, gosh, that's really awesome that, well, first of all, you met a guy like Calvin. I've always kind of been inspired by those sort of people, that like the you can do it type of people.
Yeah.
Where you get around them and they're like, come on, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's helpful to have that. I think you need that person on the team that's just like has the positive attitude, is even almost like over, like over optimistic sometimes, but just like gets you that motivation to like get going. Cause I feel like when you start something like that, like there's always, you never know how hard it's going to be, but like you're never going to accomplish it if you don't start, right? So Calvin was kind of like, he showed me that, and now I've been thinking about like other company ideas and interested in other startups and like just kind of seeing how this uh the entrepreneur game works, I guess. He kind of showed me that like, oh yeah, like if you do have an idea, like it honestly doesn't really matter what it is. Like if you're dedicated enough, if it's a good enough idea, you can put together a team, you can get some funding, and you can develop and market a product.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm definitely that'd be a fun rabbit hole to jump into, is looking into different startups. And I guess that's the podcast in a weird sense, is just starting some shit that's like, I'd like to talk to my friends,
Yeah.
but seeing where it goes. And gosh, aside from that point, one of the key things of a startup, right, is obtaining that grant. And
Yeah.
would you say that because you're a college student, Calvin's also a college student,
Mm.
was obtaining that grant, like that was the avenue that you guys went for, like starting the funding for your company, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we got the first, like what paid for the first bike was the Blackstone Launchpad on campus, is like this business entrepreneurship resource to like um, help students that want to start companies basically. And so they have, I forget what it's called, but they had some little like, oh, like we'll get your company started type of thing for students grant. And Calvin knew the people that ran that and worked in there. So he was talking to them about it. And eventually we applied for that and they gave it to us. So that covered the cost of the materials, and then doing the capstone program, like we basically signed some papers. We had to talk to like the some of the people kind of in charge at the school, but basically they agreed. They're like, okay, like you guys can retain your like intellectual property ownership of this bike design, and you can have the physical thing. Just like sign these papers saying that this is like a student project and like they're going to work on it. But basically we owned everything in the end, which was like a really sweet deal for us. Um, because we got like a lot of free machining, but it was also like beyond that, it was like cool to work with like friends and like homies and like do something and like give them an opportunity to do something that they were stoked about. And I think that's something I definitely want to be able to do in the future more. Like obviously right now I don't have a lot of funding, and it's pretty much a one-man show. But I think in the future, like one of the cool things about starting a business is like giving people an opportunity to do what they like and do it like in a good way in the local community in a sustainable way. And I feel like we got a taste of that with Capstone too. Like seeing some of the people that just, kind of went above and beyond. Like I've never seen, like Zach especially, like he was just so helpful and would sit down with me when I was getting frustrated, and just had the judgment to be like, all right, Matt, like I think this thing's gonna work. Like let's just go weld it up. Like come help me, give me a hand, and then we would do it. And like it was cool to see that and work with somebody. I mean, work with the whole team that had talents that I didn't.
Yeah, damn, that's have talents, having talents that you didn't. That's a big part of building a team, right? Is
Yeah,
yeah, being able to understand how to find those people.
yeah,
And yeah. So gosh, what was I gonna say? So you obtained your grant, and that gives you materials for the bike. But then there's also the idea of like, all right, where are you going to get your components? And then
Mhm.
you had to dive down this rabbit hole, right? Of obviously you're a biker who likes nice components. So you go to these reputable brands. And what does that process look like for you of, hopefully trying to present yourself as a bike company and find those deals that are gonna be most compatible with your bike?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was just like, picking the stuff I wanted to ride, like the components I wanted to ride, and then reaching out to those companies. And I didn't do a very good job at it, because ideally you want to offer, at least not yet, I'll say, you want to offer, marketing for them in return. And I just haven't been, I haven't put in the effort, like to develop a big social media following or anything like that yet. But I mean, I think it'll come, like from like the company standpoint, that we still have development work to do. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do a ton of marketing before you have anything ready to sell. But I basically reached out and I just like told them where we're at. I was like, hey, we're just, a bunch of kids that are starting a company, making some bikes. We're going to be like coming out with some like Instagram stuff, and we want to make a movie eventually to like have a like premiere in Bozeman. And so I sent them, and I made a little trailer, like an edit of like all the homies just riding. And we didn't even have a prototype at that point. So it was just like normal bikes. It wasn't a Telepathy bike, and sent them that. And most of the companies, well, I mean, the ones I ended up working with, but like half of the companies I reached out to probably emailed me back and were just like, oh yeah, like super stoked to like support somebody that's like starting out, and we love it. Like we're on board, like here's a deal. So a lot of companies did give me a deal. I mean, it still ends up being expensive when you're like, have other costs to take into account, but I mean, that helped a whole bunch. And I also just kind of got to see, like, especially talking with some of the, and emailing in some cases, but a couple of the people I got to talk to on the phone, it like puts it into perspective, like which companies are real and which companies are really like by the riders for the riders. And then which ones have like some, white collar marketing guy that like never gets back to you and just is never that stoked about talking about the product. And so I think that's cool, like seeing the real ones, and also getting that opportunity to be like, all right, that's the kind of company I want to have. That's the kind of customer service I want to have when we make it,
Yeah. Yeah, no, completely. It's, yeah, having it sounds silly. It sounds silly to a mountain biker person, or like, I guess if you love a sport, think of any sport, but being really invested into a company that is so like revolves around such a fun thing, but you're not like, you're only financially invested and you don't really care about what the idea is, what sucks. But through obtaining a grant, maybe, I don't know if you got the first grant you applied for, or applying or reaching out to these companies, or just asking people for help in general, how, like this, for, hey, you want to be a part of this company, and maybe they say yes or no, like how have you handled rejection, if you have had any rejection in the past through any aspect of your bike company?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I guess there's different levels of rejection. A lot of it is like when you're working with a bunch of students, for us was not even like big high level, like people saying they didn't want to work with us. Like I kind of knew, and like the people we brought in, I mean, there was maybe some people we got involved that, were in hindsight, not willing to contribute a lot of time and effort. But I wouldn't really consider that a failure, like that happens. And there was no like, like no love lost over the process, I would say. But I would say the biggest just like challenge in general, like when you're dealing with students, like working on the side, is just like managing time. Like I think the biggest failures were just like failures in communication on like what somebody's expecting and wanting out of this experience, how much work they can put in, what they like doing and what they don't like doing. And I think that just goes back to the teamwork aspect that you're talking about. Like it is hard to put together a good team where everybody like really intermixes well. And as far as like asking for help, a lot of people honestly like have offered to help. Like I have sometimes have a hard time asking people for help. So I need to get better at that too. And kind of reaching out and networking more. But a lot of the people, I'll just kind of, it'll come up naturally, or we'll just start talking about bikes and start talking about my design. And a lot of people just offer, like some of the, I mean, I think like Zach, I was like, I didn't really want to like hardcore convince him, like the Zach Nelson, the guy that welded our first bike.
Yeah.
I was like, cause he was a buddy of mine, and I was like, hey, like, this is like a really cool project. Like, I know you're a pretty good welder. Like, I'd love to have you work on it, but, I don't want to, it's going to be a lot of work probably compared to the normal capstone projects. And I don't want to like sway you, you know, if there's like, if you're trying to like do something that's like easier or that you're interested in that might be more applicable to a future career and whatever. And so a lot of it was just like, I would just kind of explain what it's about. And, you know, if they wanted to get involved, they would, like Zach. And we had a local machinist, Tyler, that was just like, I would see him around for the longest time. And we would always just say hi, like didn't even know his name. But eventually he just like stopped me. He was like, yo, like, I love your bike. Like, can I like hear a little bit about that? And so I told him, and he was like, well, it looks like, you know, if you need any help with machining, like I'll do some stuff for you guys. And he actually ended up, I think at the time, this was like, he made the links for the bike that Calvin has, machined aluminum links. But I think he was working he has his own machine shop, his own company, but I think he was making parts for Gorilla Gravity. So like he knew what he was doing, and him and Calvin got together.
What's Gorilla Gravity?
It's a bike company in Colorado that they just like shut down or are going bankrupt or something, like just recently. So I don't know. I should actually reach out to him again because he was like pretty busy at the time, and he was like, oh, I want to help you out, but like probably can't do a lot of work for you type of thing. But he ended up just like doing some stuff for like just did it for free, I think. So it just people like that. Like I feel like I don't know. I guess I've gotten lucky or I feel like people just appreciate, you know, that like if you're trying to do something like new and cool and original, that you like really believe in. I feel like certain people just recognize that and want to help. But actual I was getting away from your question. Failures, in terms of like people failures or getting rejected, there's not like a whole lot that comes to mind, honestly. There's like, I mean, what happened with like how we split up. So, I mean, Kari basically ended up wanting to go to grad school and not do telepathy anymore. So like she told us that, and it was like pretty, I guess like it went as smoothly as it could for that. But then, you know, then it was me and Calvin, and we're like, okay, we're 50-50 partners. So now we have to make the decisions. And we kind of started having some disagreements over the patent and the new design. Like Calvin wanted to change a little bit more, and I was like, no, I want to just basically optimize what we have and just fix all the known issues and not like change anything major that doesn't have a clear problem associated with it, and just like more or less, you know, just perfect the design we had. And Calvin kind of wanted to try something like more radical with manufacturing and design, and but also like seemingly like go to market quicker and like get investment quicker and get other people involved and kind of go the fast track route, which I kind of felt like I was like, man, this is like, we're not quite ready for this. Like, this is still just like, I mean, a little bit of a hobby. Like I feel like we need to do our best to perfect it. And then, you know, once it's really ready, then we can go out, get the right investors, you know, do it on the right terms, hire the right people, you know, not rushing anything, not skipping on testing or on iterations, and just feeling really confident about the product.
Yeah. How does that, I didn't know that I thought that you and Calvin were still working together on this, but apparently not.
No, we split. So I bought both Calvin and Kari's shares. So now I have all the shares in the company.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were originally equal partners, and then we left. I mean, there was a little bit more nuance. Like we were leaving some set aside for investors. But when Kari left, like, I mean, Calvin is, I mean, he was really good at what he does. He's a really good businessman. He had the connections. But me and Calvin were always like both, you know, I guess both of us had kind of a big ego, and we wanted to, you know, we argued a little bit. But with Kari, you know, with the three of us, there was always like a tiebreaker. And to be fair, we never had like a major argument before, mostly because there wasn't a lot of money on the table. And then it started to get good, you know, both of us could see I guess, see a positive outcome, you know, in the near future. And we differed on, you know, I wanted to get the patent, pay for the patent right now, and just, you know, make as minimal changes to the design as possible, get something out there, do it in steel, do it in hand-built, welded, round gauge tubing, standard manufacturing, nothing new there, like focus on the suspension design as being the novel element. then once we get revenue, then we can play around with more exotic manufacturing and materials. And Calvin just
Like
kind of saw
aluminum welds or aluminum builds.
aluminum builds, and we
Things along
talked a
that
lot
line.
about machined rear triangle, which would be expensive.
Okay.
So that was one of the things, I guess. Calvin was more like, oh, let's do the really fancy higher price market. And I was like, no, I want to make this thing as cheap as possible, like the highest quality suspension design, but that shouldn't affect the price because it's just a couple of bearings and point locations. Like, let's do the steel tubing construction like we've been doing. And then he also wanted to change the design. He wanted to like try some new configurations. And I was kind of like, why? Like the first one we made was like the suspension design was the best part about it. Like, I don't want to change that. I want to change all the things I don't like the weight and the uh, ergonomics, the bolts hitting your knees and the
Yeah,
chain.
that's an inconvenient part. That's personally what would make me shy away is like, gosh, I don't want to have bloody knees because my bike is hitting me.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks a little like scary at first. I mean, it's not bad like riding it. Like you get used to it and honestly, it's just I don't know. I've only hit my knees on those bolts a couple times where I was like, ouch, that hurt. And it's never been like bad where it was like bruised, but we definitely need to fix it. And the end solution is just doing the custom machine bolts that sit flush with everything, like Calvin has
Yeah.
on his, which are pretty sweet, but it's so expensive right now. So with the fourth one, with the next design that I'm working on, or I'm done with the design, I'm about to make it. It's just going to be standard bolts like you'd buy at Ace, but all the bearing housings and everything have enough room, so there's like a little recess, so the bolt will sit inside the frame basically. And I like moved everything in, tightened up the tolerances. There's like a new machine part now for the chain to go through, so that's not a constraint. So you can basically move, have enough tire clearance, but also enough chain clearance, and have the bearing housing sit tighter in, so the bolts aren't sticking out as far. That's like the easy fix, and then we'll see how good that is, and then hopefully go to machine stuff for the production bikes whenever that happens, and I think that should be pretty good. It's still going to be like that design still has the hardware like up higher, whereas most bikes it's lower.
Mm-hmm.
So that's different, and I'm not sure that's that's not the best to have that like mass and bulk up higher, but I think it's fine. Like it's not a huge trade-off compared to the benefits.
Yeah. So that's kind of a real life adult thing, splitting with partners, and that's like communication and like verbal expectations versus implied expectations.
Yeah.
Which that's a huge leadership part of it, which I'm sure is there can be benefits to learning it firsthand, but it can also be kind of shitty, probably. I've definitely felt that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. Like the terms we left on were pretty good. Like
Oh, okay.
I think Calvin, well, I think everybody saw it coming, and it was the type of thing where we weren't to the point yet where there was a ton of money on the table. So like there wasn't a huge like that wasn't super an issue. And I mean, it was a good experience. Like I'm still, still friends with them, and we'll still hang out and stuff, and hopefully that won't affect too much else.
Yeah. Well, that's anyways. I just think that's pretty neat that somebody I know gets to experience something like that, even though it might be a little uncomfortable. It's still like a character building experience from my point of view. But anyways, next thing I wanted to ask you about was, like, clearly you're a busy guy. You want to be physical. You also have a bike company. You're also a PhD student. How do you delegate responsibilities day to day, week to week? Like, I feel like a lot goes inside the brain of Matt, and how do you how do you chop it up?
Well, my strategy is pretty simple, and I'm not saying it's the best one, but I pretty much just try to work on what I'm interested in the moment. And that's like the benefits of grad school is like I do have a little more freedom. Like I try to keep like a somewhat regular schedule where like I'm in the lab at least for like most of the normal working hours, on Monday to Friday. But like if I need to, have a Zoom call with somebody in the morning or go to the machine shop or go to the hardware store, or if I need to like get something last minute done and just spend all of a Friday working on bike stuff, I can do that. So I try to just work on what I'm excited about because that's like when I'm most productive. Um, I'm not the greatest like scheduler and I'm not great at organization. And that's something that you definitely need in a company. And that's something that like we're like working with where we did work together, like before we split up with Calvin and Kari, like Kari was super organized. So she was like really good about that. And Calvin too, to a large extent. So they kind of helped me out with that. And now that I'm just doing it on my own, it's definitely going a little slower.
Yeah.
And the research is like as far as my PhD stuff, it's a similar thing to where like there's kind of some different objectives that I get to like split my time between. And I honestly just kind of trust that like if I work on what's interesting to me, it's all gonna like come together in the end. And that can lead me down some rabbit holes, but it's worth it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
on.
super neat. Enhancing productivity has always been, not always, recently has been super interesting to me. Just like, for example, I find that I can do the most badass stuff aside from the podcast because it works better with my schedule if I do the podcast later in the day. But I try to do the more like the things that take 100% of my focus right in the morning.
Yeah. That's a good point, dude. I feel the same way. Like, yeah, I do my best work in the morning and like that's when I make my plans and like come up with the ideas, like make the decisions while I'm drinking my coffee, before breakfast. Just I like to have like ideally like 2 hours just to chill and like drink coffee and work on the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I love it because there's like dreams. I'll have dreams, obviously, like a normal person, that they sort of rest in your subconscious throughout the day, and then maybe it comes out at night and like kind of budges you a little bit.
Yeah.
And gosh, I just love, not all the times, but most of the time, I love sitting down, just pen and paper right when I wake up, just being able to acknowledge my dreams and just try to understand why I'm thinking what I'm thinking about in my dreams.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a huge part of who I am.
Oh, that's a good practice. I feel like dream journaling. Do you notice do you feel like more connected, or are you more like understanding what's going on in your subconscious when you're doing that?
Maybe not in my subconscious, but it's like in myself, I think, throughout the day. Because I have, I'll have a dream about whatever, and it's maybe consciously I'll be telling myself that I'm over that or that I don't care about that anymore, right? Because like my ego's involved, but your ego kind of gets thrown out of the picture when you're dreaming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like every night I get a little wake up call. This is some old bird's like, "What's up, bitch? Remember me?" And then I have to like actually acknowledge it and think about it. And I'll basically just like set a timer. It's like, all right, every morning I'm gonna write for 30 minutes. So I'll just be sitting there, and then this little like dream I had will be nagging me. And it's kind of cool because if you start writing about a dream that you've had, even if you only think you've remembered so much about it, once I write down the part of the dream that I do remember, more of it reveals itself sometimes.
Wow.
It's really cool. It's super rad.
Good shit.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard about some guy on the, gosh, what's his name? Forgetting the name of the podcast. It's a Tim Ferriss show. If you've heard of Tim Ferriss,
Oh,
he's an
yeah,
entrepreneur.
I've listened to some
Yeah.
of his podcasts.
Yeah. I love his podcast. And he was talking with a gentleman who helps optimize people that are in the top of their field and just brings them that extra 1 or 2% to be better. And one of the things that he has them do is, right when they wake up in the morning, no stimulation. And he goes into it where it's like, don't go on social media or don't get any input from anybody else before you write.
Yeah.
So do all your really important stuff that you care about before you get any, like checking email, and it's just kind of like stream of consciousness writing. But anyways, back to what we were talking about, like optimizing our time, I think is like a super, like, it's just a really nice gift of life.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Like, I think one thing I do try to do is like minimize like dead time that I'm like not because like everybody needs to take a break. I can't work on anything for 12 hours straight. But like another thing that I think is interesting that I swear this is really good and then really bad for me, but I'll work on one thing for a while and then I'll just like switch. I'll be like, okay, I want to stop and like I kind of want to just go like watch TV or just like go chill and not do anything. But then I'll be like, oh wait, I still got some time. I could be productive. Like, wait, I'm gonna go work on my other thing. So I'll be like, working in the lab and I'll like go work on telepathy and then I'll get bored of that and finally I'll be like, all right, now I need to like actually chill. So then I'll be like, all right, I'm just gonna go like read a book and like learn about some wild shit that's like useful to me.
Yeah. Oh man, gosh, I've been reading a really great book that I'll have to talk about a little later. But yeah, that's another part of like optimizing the day and delegating responsibilities is becoming a master at transitions.
Yeah.
That's so hard.
Point. I feel like transitions are so like I've been thinking about that recently. That's funny you bring it up, but like it honestly takes me so long to stop thinking. Like for me, it's usually when like something negative happens. It's like, oh, today I failed at whatever the goal was. Like I couldn't make the experiment work, or like I finished the design on what I thought was going to achieve my weight target or whatever on the bike, and then it doesn't. And I'm like, shit, what do I don't know what to do next. But I feel like it's like how fast you can flip that switch. You can be like, all right, well, I need to think on this tonight, but I can go do something else productive, or I can go have fun, or I can go ride my bike or whatever. And I feel like it's got to be healthy to be able to make that switch quicker. What do you think?
I think you're completely correct. Gosh, what happens when that happens? Like you first become a better decision maker. Yeah. Because hopefully you're just like mastering your transitions. You're making decisions that are more helpful to yourself in your day. So instead of, say for me, like I have social media. So instead of going on social media, I'll be like, all right, do 2 push-ups. God, whatever. Or like, just give yourself time. Like, how do I word this? And I don't personally do this very well, but this conversation is bringing it out of me. So I'm going to try now. Is to like give yourself, if you're struggling to figure out where to go to next because you're bored of whatever, you're done with your task, putting yourself in a place where you can be mindful of what you should do next, or furthermore, putting yourself in a place where you can like really like follow your heart on what direction you should walk towards next, instead of just doing what I don't even know if it's correct to call it your ego, but basically just like you're uncomfortable, seek comfort. Yeah. Like that's bad. Like trying to like be in a place, say meditating for a minute, and then following your heart on what you should actually be doing next, mastering the transition.
No, I feel that though. I feel like there's so many like impulses, like social media is a good one.
Yeah.
like TV, even like junk food, and like I feel like there's just so many things like that that are just like trying to grab your attention, but don't like they're fun or whatever, but they're not necessarily like what you want to be doing. But like what you're saying about being like conscious or intentional about it, like I feel that. Like I think it's important, and I feel like there's like you said, following your heart too. I feel like there's like an authentic impulse, you know, and then there's just the impulse for comfort or whatever that's like, give me that sugar, like give me that like brainless like entertainment or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I literally like binging on food happens after I get done with some. Like it can be so bad. I'll go so hard with the snacks sometimes just because I got done with the task. I wasn't even hungry, but I just wanted comfort. And gosh, thank God for my fast metabolism, because I would be fat as shit if I didn't have fast metabolism.
I feel that. I'm the same way. Like, especially after a long day, like if I get done with like something, I like don't have dinner plans or don't have like healthy food plans, I'll just like eat a whole bag of trail mix or something. Just like chowing down. Oh wait, I have a question for you, kind of on the topic of transitions, because it's something else I've been thinking about recently. Do you try to like when you're really feeling into a task, do you ever like limit yourself before you're like bored of it? Like if you're biking, for example, do you ever think about like almost this is maybe like a weird thought, but do you ever kind of like ration it out if you're like, oh, like if I only ride for like, and maybe biking's a bad example, but it's like you have something really fun you can do. If you only do it for like a shorter amount of time, you enjoy it more, or do you like go through it and like keep doing it until you don't enjoy it anymore and then stop? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you go on that 11-hour ride and feel like shit and not want to ride for a week? Or do you go on a 2-hour ride every day? You know what I mean? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's like kind of what you're alluding to, is trying to maybe mitigate burnout.
Yeah.
In a way, is that kind of what you're asking? Is like you just moderate yourself so you can look forward to it in the future instead of resenting that which what you love.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just saying that answer. Short answer, yes. Short answer, yes, but only when I'm being really mindful. Because one of my big weaknesses, I think, is finding something that I care about and really do genuinely care about it, but just I just can't help it but go like all in on that, and I get so about it until I find that burnout, and then it's just like, damn it. Yeah, so it always ends up biting me in the butt, but that's what I was gonna say. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, totally. I'm on the same page. Like, I'm the same way. I get really into something and I do it all day, whether it's like learning to weld, for example. You know, sometimes I'd spend like 5 hours just like welding, which is like a long time for welding because it's like actually doing it doesn't take that long. And then I would like just be like just kind of over it for a while and like not want to do it for a few days. And I feel like lately, and same way with biking, like doing like really long rides on the weekend, but then not just like working during the week, like working a ton during the week and working none on the weekends. And I feel like lately I've been trying to like a little bit, not in everything, but trying to do like smaller, like bite-sized chunks and just break up my schedule and be like, all right, I'm only going to work on this for 2 hours. I'm not going to spend the whole day. And then I'm going to go do something else and then something else. And it like, sometimes it's hard to transition if you're hitting like 2 hours and I'm like, man, I'm still kind of feeling this, but I'm okay to quit because now if I'm like still having fun tomorrow, when I go back to do my 2 hours tomorrow, it's still going to be fun. And I think you hit it with like sustainability versus burnout. Like I'm trying to find that balance of like the right, like both work schedule, but also like riding schedule. So it's like sustainable and you can, you know, do the most fun stuff, get the most work done, but also not burn out and hopefully not ever do like 14-hour days.
Yeah, no, that completely. I feel that way a lot in the gym, because like about 20 minutes into my workout, I'm in the flow state. I'm going. It's like I've not to toot my own horn too much, but like I've been working out like every single day at the gym. It's like a goal of mine that I want to put on weight this year, and I've been trying to lift heavy, not like stupid heavy, but be able to do 12 reps of something, but like struggling, like failing on the 12th rep, right? And I don't want to leave the gym after an hour, but I do.
Yeah.
Mostly because I have other stuff to do. But say in theory, if I worked out till burnout every day, I'd probably not want to go to the gym every single day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I work out for an hour a day, and I want to go to the gym every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think it is that motivates you to like hit the gym so hard? Because I know you and me differ on it. I always joke that
yeah,
I don't go to the gym. I trail build for upper body and I do everything else for cardio. But you know what I mean? Like, is it the progression, like getting better? Is it the like getting the gains, getting the muscle gains, bulking up, or do you just like doing weird shit?
So much about the gym that I just absolutely hunger, and I love being able to lift 5 more pounds than I did the week before that. It's also my degree program. It's a Bachelor of Science, like kinesiology major. So I get to nerd out about it. Like I'm taking a biomechanics class right now, and I'm really excited for it because I've only gone to 2 classes, so it's just like the introduction. But you get to like learn about what exercises recruit the most muscle fibers in your body so you can have the most efficient workout and get the most bang for your buck and shit like that. And it's just like, gosh, I think that everybody, to sum it up, because there's a lot of little like accolades that I just love about the gym, but I think that everybody needs, and everyone gets this in a different way, but everybody needs like a place where they can go that's just, they can hop in the flow state, feel comfortable, and just go at it. And that's, for me, that's the gym. And yeah, like you said, I love working hard. I love like letting out a big grunt when I'm doing heavy squats. I love the exercise. It's just always been a big part of my life. And for the type of stuff that I do, where I don't know how many times I ate shit in 2023, but I can guarantee you that if I didn't go to the gym as much as I did in 2023, I would be very injured right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you are resilient.
I eat shit a lot, man.
I know. I feel like anybody, like any of our other homies, maybe except for, well, I don't know, but most of us would have gotten hurt like 4 times.
I lift weights, bro. What I do. I love it. Yeah. Thanks, by the way. Thanks for the compliment. I do appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. My favorite workout, by the way, is the shoulder press with the dumbbells. Just like, urgh!
Oh, straight up.
That was so good, dude. Oh, feels so good.
I'll have to try that next time I go to the gym, which will probably be like in a year.
I'll ask you to go with me when I come back to Montana.
All right, word.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I more questions for you. If like I don't want to take advantage of your time. I know that you're a busy guy. It's been about an hour, which is kind of the length of the show. We can always like do it again if there's always going to be more questions. Like, are you looking to get on with your night?
I mean, I could. I'm open to whatever you're feeling. I don't have anything planned, so.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll actually, I'm gonna ask you like two, maybe 3 more questions. I have been reading, dude, this book. This is what I've been reading right now.
All right, yeah. What is it?
Bro, I've been getting really, so I was like super into self-help books because I wanted to get harder. And then I got into like philosophy books because different religions are cool to me. And
Yeah,
now,
I feel
dun,
that.
dun, dun, dude, this
Stephen
book
King
so
hit.
fucking scary.
Is that like a horror novel? Or what's
You
I've
know
never
the
read a Stephen
clown that
King
it
book. That's so creepy, dude.
this book, like I go to sleep thinking about it at night. And it's so good. It's like unbelievably just have you watched the movie?
No.
Oh man. Oh man. It's basically it's like, well, the movie doesn't really cover it. The theory is that this dude killed his entire family and then, ate a poisonous mushroom while he circled his whole family around him after he killed him, and like died slowly like this for a couple hours and was like smiling as he died. And then this like evil spirit like left him and he turned into an evil clown that once every 27 years uh, brings terror to this town and eats children, or like eats the body parts off of children.
Shit,
It's
dude,
a
that's
fucked up
gnarly.
book, dude. But Stephen King's like you really feel like you're in the book, and like the pages, some of them just flow like butter. Like it's amazing. Yeah, Stephen King's a shit. You should. I'm gonna read The Shining after this. I heard it was really good.
Oh, I've heard of that, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's the
Yeah.
one with here's Johnny with the axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Anyways, that's what I'm gonna do after this.
Good for you, dude. I've just never really gotten into the horror stuff.
Yeah, me neither. This is my first book. I picked it up
Until
last
now.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super good. But anyways, I've been nerding out about it a little bit, and I'm really excited to read. I love reading.
It's good to have a good book.
It's good to have a good book. What are you reading right now?
Well, I'm reading like 7 books. So that's
Yo,
I read like different books at one time and I'll just like switch between based on what I'm interested in. But I'm reading I've been trying to read only nonfiction. I think I'm only reading one fiction book right now, which is why am I forgetting? But it's the ancient Greek, the Iliad. And then I'm
oh,
reading like this book about like water's role in biology and biochemistry. I think it's called like Rainbow Water by a scientist. And she's like looking at the interaction of like light, electricity, ions, and biochemistry basically. So it's more of like a physics approach to biology. And then I'm reading like a history book that's just like a fat. This guy just like goes through like inventions in history. Um, I'm reading a book about Isaac Newton. I don't know, a few more, like a lot.
dude.
I read some philosophy books too. I'm reading the Book of the Dead, Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Oh, I'd like to read that.
Yeah, dude, I'll give it to you when I'm done. But I'm like it's thick. Like it's interesting because there's like 3 forms of every, I guess 3 languages. Like they have the hieroglyphs on one line, and then right below it is like the actual Egyptian language that like doesn't mean anything to me because I'm not, I don't know how to, I don't know that language. But then below it's the English, so you can like look at the hieroglyphs and then read the English, and it's kind of trippy to see like what symbols they use for words. And that's one thing that I think is interesting about the Egyptians, like their symbolism, and they were more like, well, they were more symbolic than like logical, instead of like precise meanings, they had like associations and like they're more creative, I feel like left brain versus right brain consciousness. But
That
anyways, yeah, well,
no,
not that
no,
close to
that's
being done.
awesome.
You're welcome to check it out when I'm done.
Yeah, that's something I haven't thought about in a long time, is left brain versus right brain. Well, left is wait, one's more analytical and one's more creative.
Yeah, I always get it mixed up. I think I always like you would think right brain is logical because it's like, oh, right is it's the right answer, but it's
Yeah,
opposite. Right brain is the creative one, and then left brain is the analytical one, I think.
yeah, that's yeah. I was thinking of it in terms of politics, right? Like I would be like conservative right is more like analytical, and then left like liberal is like more like creative and like free flowing
Yeah.
ideas. But it's the opposite, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know, maybe we should look it up to be sure, but I think it's like your brains are they're wired differently too. So you feel I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but like it's reversed. Like what you think is happening on the right side is actually on the left. Like your nerves are or your connections are just physically like inverted or something. Have you ever
Yeah,
heard
I
that?
think I
I don't
think you're on something. With exercise, it's really, really healthy, like mentally, to do exercises to like swing a kettlebell from left to right or right to left.
yeah,
Wait,
to
wait.
cross
Could
that
you, if you were gonna phrase a question into Google, how would you phrase it?
for the right brain, left brain thing.
Yeah, yeah. So we can fact
Um,
check.
I would maybe just what is the right brain control and what is the left brain control? Start here. I can look too. Or like right versus left brain.
Hmm. Okay, so your left brain, yeah, your left brain is more numbers and science, etc. And then your right brain's like creativity, intuition, music, art. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty rad though.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like I think about that a lot, and I think like the best experiences like flow states and everything is like when you connect them, and even like psychedelics too. If you think about like, they say, oh, when you're on psychedelics, like you're not really using more of your brain, but your brain's like more connected. Like there's more connections. You're
Ooh.
firing different synapses and stuff. And I feel like it's the same thing for like it's got to be the same thing for like flow states too. It's like, yeah, you're like, you're kind of calculated, like you're thinking about if you can do it, but you're also just like doing it and just like letting it happen
Mm.
and like being creative and
Yeah, yeah, no, that's completely. Hey, I wanted to ask you, what's so what's one thing that you've changed your mind about?
change my mind about.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a
like
good,
you're like felt really
that's a good
committed.
one.
You felt really committed to a school of thought or whatever, and you're like, shit, I guess I was wrong. it,
Yeah.
it can be
Um,
recent, it can be in the past.
oh, there's like, I mean, the most recent examples for me are like all research related, like kind of technical, just stuff where it's like, oh, like I thought I had it all explained this way, and then it's like, oh wait, there's a whole new like explanation that we found this other way. But let me try to think of a better one. Something that I changed my mind about. Um,
We can circle back to it too.
okay. Yeah, I'll have to think about that.
Okay. Yeah, you
I'll
do.
let you know.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I
like
mean, I
on a
change
person.
my mind all the time in terms of, like just like little shit like daily plans, weekly plans, but I'm trying to think of like something profound and
Oh, like something like that you feel like within your soul, and then you're like, oh, now I feel this way. Yeah, but
yeah.
no, it's all good. You don't even have to come up with it on the show, but that's that's some it's sticking. I feel like opinions are so, I don't know, opinions are like kind of fickle. I don't know if that's the right word. But like they're with you until they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, second question then. How do you, in business, in personal life, how do you how do you distinguish truth? Like when someone's telling you the truth, or if you read something on the internet, how are you distinguishing truth from BS? And like, how do you like make up your mind if you want to like believe that or not?
Yeah. Well, I definitely like, depending on what it is, I have different levels of rigor. Like in research or in engineering, especially, there's got to be a testable hypothesis. Like you have to make a prediction with your knowledge, and then that prediction has to come true. So it's not enough just to be like, oh, that's true or not. It's like, okay, if I think this is what's happening in my material, then like, for example, like say that, okay, say I heat it up and something happens, and I think I understand why it's happening. Like one example of that would be like, okay, for me to say that I know what's happening, like in a definite sense, in other words, like it is truth, I would have to predict what would happen when I cool it down, and then cool it down and have that happen, basically. So that's my like, and then same thing for engineering. Like you make a hypothesis, you test it. But for like, I mean, just like political stuff and like reading stuff on the internet, and I have a bunch of like crazy theories and philosophy and oh, I think I thought of my thing. I changed my mind on, but I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Which this is making me think. That was good lead up question. I'm kind of losing my train of thought. But yeah, how do I decide if it's true? Like in terms of like news-based stuff and politics and all that, I feel like there's less certainty there because it's like, how would I really know? But I do try to like check the original sources. Like when people are like, whether it's like COVID or climate change or whatever, I'm like, okay, I want to read like the original sources, not like the news person's interpretation, because the data and the conclusions are often different. Like you can make conclusions based on data saying like, we expect this to enable, or we expect this to have these implications, or we expect this to happen. But like, that's like not fact. Like there's a difference between like the testable hypothesis part and then like the conclusions you're making based on your study. So I try to like check the primary sources, I guess, is the biggest thing. And then the second thing, I always just like gut check it. Like, does this make sense? Like who stands to benefit? Like, is there any motive to tell a lie? Like for example, in marketing, there's pretty much always a motive to maybe not like blatantly lie, but always over exaggerate things, right? If you're like, okay, I think my bike is a tiny bit better at cornering. Well, I'm not going to tell you it's a tiny bit better at cornering. I'm going to tell you it's way better at cornering, So I feel like it's just like a lens of skepticism. But for me, it's also like recently just like getting into the more of the business entrepreneurship stuff. I've been trying to understand like the motivations for everything like we see in society, and like the motivations of the political agenda beyond like, just conservative and liberal, and who stands to profit from it, and all that. I don't know though. Does that answer your question?
Oh, it does completely. That's really, the motive to lie.
Yeah,
that's super rad. Hey, what was your answer to the last question?
Oh, I was thinking, I think it's like religion, because like I'm not like really like, I didn't like totally flip. I'm not like going to church every week or anything, but I feel like lately I've been, like I grew up going to church a little bit, and then with my parents, and then was just kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do this. Like this is like too rigorous. Like I don't want to be constrained to any one like doctrine. Like I definitely always like entertain the idea that there's like something out there. But lately, and especially like going to Peru, going to South America, and seeing like the type of like spirituality they have there, I've kind of been, I guess, just getting more spiritual and realizing that it's like probably not like before. I kind of had this idea of like almost just like screw religion, like that it's wrong type of thing. And lately I've been coming around this idea. I probably shouldn't say that, but
no, I think that's hilarious, dude. Say whatever you want.
But lately I've been like trying to take the opposite approach. Instead of like, these are the things that I think is wrong with Christianity, or pick whatever you want. I just know the most about Christianity. It could be any other religion. But lately I've been like, wait, why do that? Like, what do they all kind of have in common? Like, what's this like common spirituality and this common like code of ethics and morals and that people live by? And I think it's interesting. Like, I never really traveled, and then going to South America and just like seeing how they talked about kind of like like they would talk about like spirits and stuff and respecting nature and respecting the crops and the food and the landscape. And they have a different system. It's almost like Eastern, it's more like Eastern style, but I think that's something I want to like pay more attention, and I guess like maybe not start going to church, but like listen to the religious side of things, and just kind of, I just think it's interesting to find not where the religions differ, but kind of where they intersect, and like where can you use that, whether you call it religion or philosophy or whatever, as a like a common point to like connect people instead of breaking them apart. Like, I think that's cool. And I've been thinking about that recently and thinking that I shouldn't be so judgmental, I guess.
Yeah. I appreciate what you said about where they intersect. For me, a big point of where religion intersects is it's love. Like any besides like what's that?
The universal religion.
Yeah. Love is the most powerful force, and it's in pretty much all religions. Besides, it's definitely not called Satanism, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't think there's much love in that. Maybe there is. Someone write the comment below, prove me wrong. But anyways, that's super rad where they think about where they intersect. Hey, I got one last question for you, brother. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Dude, I think it'd be flying. Like, it'd be so sick to be able to fly. Like, just imagine like having that like 3D, just being able to like zip wherever. Like, biking's fun, skiing's fun, whatever, but it's all like fairly 2D. You're always like confined to like, if you just have that freedom, superpower, I think I'd definitely pick flying.
Flying. Word. Hey, is there anything else that like to say? Anything you want to let people know about before we end the show?
Yeah, I guess a couple things. Wait, first though, I have a question for you. What superpower would you pick?
Gosh, I haven't actually thought about that. I think camouflage. Camouflage would be rad. Kind of like a chameleon. They'll just blend to whatever color. Like, wow. I could like just me up against the wall, for example, right?
Yeah, and you would just totally change to like look the same as the wall. Would it be like color, or would it be like straight up invisibility cloak type stuff?
It wouldn't be invincibility. My last guess said invincibility, by the way.
Really? Who's that?
Yeah, Camden Erickson.
Oh, okay. I don't think I know him.
He lives in Bozeman. Actually, he grew up in Alaska. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, his parents own Alaska Glacier Seafoods.
Okay. I mean, maybe I've seen him around before, but it doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah. Anyways,
as far as other things to mention, if you want to follow along with the company, Telepathy Labs is what it's called. We're not very pretty much still in stealth mode, but we do have a website and an Instagram. And I like to talk about bikes and science and whatever. So if anybody's interested in bike design, I'm happy to chat. I love talking about that stuff. And I think that's probably it.
Cool. Right. Well, I will throw the Telepathy website and the Telepathy Instagram in the description below when I post the video. Thank you a bunch for coming on, Matt. I really appreciate your time, and I am going to stop recording. So bye, everybody.
Bye. Yeah, and thanks, Nolan. Thanks for having me, dude. I also think it's rad what you're doing, like starting this podcast and just, I think, trying to have like interesting but also meaningful conversations. And I'm sure you're kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit with some people
Yeah.
and topics, and I think that's a good thing to do. Like, I think somebody's got to do it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the kind words, Matt. It means a lot. All right. Goodbye. Peace. Not to you,
Deuces.
just to the audience.
Okay.
Off the recording.